Welcome to The Human Experience, a podcast about the stories we live out every day and the importance of championing the vulnerability and courage of the storyteller. I'm your host, Jennifer Peterkin, and it was through my own lived story of experiencing domestic violence that this podcast was created. By traveling the globe and interviewing each guest in person, I am convinced now more than ever that stories have the power to change the world. You can join our community of storytellers by subscribing, leaving a rating and review, signing up for my newsletter, following me on Instagram, and more. Thank you for being here. In a world full of noise, to listen with intention is an act of resistance.
I don't have to have answers to all these questions to love people, and that is the most important part. I don't have any questions about loving God and loving people. None. I don't have any questions about love.
Episode 41 of The Human Experience is Chandrika's story. Chandrika is the best-selling author of Lord, I Don't Want to Die a Christian, a book she wrote after she realized how much her faith had changed after living in China as a Christian missionary. Chandrika is an ordained minister, and she found herself disenchanted with the lack of curiosity that exists within the institution of the Christian church, especially in the West. By revisiting her journals from when she was in China, Chandrika weaves together an honest, relatable, and much-needed narrative about growing into our faith and allowing it the room to change. You can find a link to Chandrika's book and socials in the show notes. This episode was recorded in Columbus, Georgia. I'm excited to finish your book. But just reading the parts that I did, I was just, I don't know, you cut through so much nonsense. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was really, people write a book, a lot of it's like really flowery language, yes. and yours is not. Yours is like, this is the deal. This is where I was. This is where I am. Yes. And not that it's not poignant and beautiful, but it is like, no fluff. No. There is no fluff in that book. No. Yeah.
That's how I talk.
Yeah.
I just get right to the point.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too for me was that I've read other books of the same kind. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the books that I've read, they all come from these authors who have degrees in divinity and, masters in divinity. And so it's all great, but you have to get through all of the Hebrew and the Greek words, and you got to look up this word. I wanted to write something for the everyday Christian who had questions, everyday questions, and write as simple as I could, but come from the depth that is Chandrika. But speak as simply as I can so that everybody who reads it can understand it.
Yeah. I think that's such an important place to speak from. And also, I think it's a gift to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Because it sounds simple in concept, right? Mm-hmm. Right for everyone. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's as simple to write for everyone and also convey a message. Mm-hmm. Well.
Okay.
So I think that is a very much a gifting, because writing itself, I think, is a gifting, right? Mm-hmm. To be able to communicate through your words, to be able to move people through your words, through your life, like through your story is I think it's a huge piece of humanity, but I think it's a muscle that we don't often stretch. Mm-hmm. And then to be able to communicate, though, in a way that people resonate with from all different walks of life. Mm-hmm. I mean, I grew up in conservative Christianity, but I did not grow up in the African American Pentecostal church. Mm-hmm. I still relate to a lot of your story. Wow. Yeah. So, but also realizing and recognizing that there are differences.
Yes. But that is a gift. I would acknowledge that today, that if you've never grown up in the African American expression of Christianity and it's still crossed over, you could still relate. Okay. I accept that it's a gift. But again, whether it's the African American Pentecostal expression of Christianity, it's still Christianity. So I think Christianity is being pretty much, the fundamentals are taught the same.
Yeah.
Or the same, let me say the same fundamentals are being taught, but how it is expressed may be different. So I have the questions about the same fundamentals that are taught by Christianity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm glad I started recording because I'm glad I didn't miss that. And I actually don't do an introduction in my podcast until after, because I find it to be super awkward for me and you. So, but Chandrika.
Yes.
And you wrote a book, Lord, I Don't Want to Die a Christian.
Yes.
I love the name of your book purely from a marketing perspective. And like, I mean, no disrespect by that, but that title makes you double take. Yes. The first time that we spoke and you told me about your book, I was like, wait, what is it called?
And it wasn't something I never intended to write a book.
Yeah.
So because of that, you should know that the title is inspired. I was back from China. I had spent 2 years there, away from Western religion, away from Western Christianity. And I was in a country where Christianity is not embraced. So it was pretty quiet over there as it relates to Christianity. And so I am back, from that 2-year life-changing experience, going back to church as I know it and going, what is happening? Why do I feel different? Why does this feel different? Why does this sound different? All the things that I had been hearing all my life they had a different ring now. And so between that and Barack Obama had just been nominated for president. And so a lot of our white evangelical brothers and sisters of influence were announcing their disdain for having a Black president. So between the reality of what have I been missing, the devil and communion and tithing and trying to adapt to all that again and struggling with culture shock as well. And then this with Christians saying and announcing from the pulpit. And so I was watching CNN and a story came up of a pastor who allowed his grandson in the pulpit, on the stage, sitting on the steps. I remember that the framework of the church was white and the carpet and the pews, the very traditional pews, were like a green color, olive green color. And he walked up onto the steps and he sat on the top step with a microphone and began to sing a racist song about having a Black president. And I turned the TV off. I couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. Got up from my couch. I was living in my apartment, walked over to my front door where I had taken some shoes off. I picked the shoes up, and when I stood back up, I said, Lord, I don't want to die a Christian. And that's where it came from. It was literally an exhale.
Wow.
And then the next thing I heard literally in step was, that's a book. And then in step again, I said, I was not going to write a book. I never wanted to write a book. So I just began to kind of press in and pray about what this book was supposed to be.
Wow.
It's my first book. It is a bestseller. It is 3 times award winning. And, I tell people all the time, just write.
That's amazing.
What my advice is to just write. I never intended. It was a bestseller in the first week.
Wow.
Yes. First week, it was released on a Tuesday. On Thursday, it was number 1, number 2 on Amazon's bestseller list.
Wow. If that's not a plea, right? Right. For this kind of story to be told, I don't know what is.
Yes.
So I want to go back. I know from a little bit of hearing you speak that you grew up in an African American Pentecostal tradition, correct? Can you just describe what that is?
It's more of a charismatic sort of expression and movement. One of the last times I had a chance to share with the congregation, they were excited at my excitement and my passion because it's not there normally. It's very quiet, very still. Nobody says amen. Nobody talks back. So of course I'm the only Black face in the house, and I'm talking, being my charismatic self, and they are just like, wow, this is really nice. This is cool, And so that's it. It's just the flavor, if you will, of Christianity. It's the movement, the moving, the embracing of out of the box expression, a lot of dancing, a lot of speaking in tongues, a lot of boisterous praying, lifting of hands. I work in the school district, and one of our students was reading the Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And the more he read, I said, "Yes, sir!"
Just fit right back in there.
Right,
yeah.
right. And he was reading. I said, I get it from, that. So it's the constant kind of going back and forth. Everybody's participating versus one person is singing and everybody's listening. One person is speaking and everybody's listening. It's an exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are ordained.
Yes.
Yes. And you come from a long line of pastors?
Yes, clergy.
Clergy.
Everybody wasn't a pastor, but definitely clergy. My grandparents, one on one side, my father's side, his mother was an expression. They called it missionary, but she did get to oftentimes speak and have the mic and things like that. In her day, you couldn't be a preacher or a pastor. You had to be a missionary. And, in the wrong sense of the word. But my parents, my mom's parents, my grandfather was a pastor, and her mother was a national evangelist or national missionary, meaning she traveled the country going to different churches and preaching. Both of them, my granddad, my mother's dad, died preaching.
Wow.
In the pulpit, had a heart attack.
Oh, my.
And my mother's mother, I think she was vacationing from full-time ministry.
Wow.
And she caught pneumonia, I believe, and did not survive it. So my parents, as long as I have known of them, were ministers. As long as I was aware, when I became aware, they were ministers in the pulpit. And over time, they have evolved in ministry, and they're now pastors. My mom ordained a reverend, which is we are Pentecostal, but then there are divisions, if you will, of Pentecostal. So there's Church of God in Christ, probably one of the largest Pentecostal churches in the world. And they don't believe in ordaining women. So my mother was ordained by a non-denominational pastor who used to be what is called apostolic, which is another version of Pentecostalism. And so, we just buried our uncle who retired from pastoring.
I'm sorry.
And aunts, especially on my mom's side.
Okay.
Aunts who have died in ministry, they not died in ministry, but when they transitioned, they were ordained. My Aunt Karen, my Aunt Tawana, I think is a licensed minister, and my Aunt Liz was ordained, and I had one of my uncles who is no longer ordained, really kind of doesn't believe in religion anymore. But before that, he was preaching.
Okay.
So it's what I know.
Yeah.
It's what I know.
Truly.
Yeah.
In a way, it was your inheritance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I believe I wrote that. I say I was born a Christian. And then I asked the question, do I have to die one too?
Yeah. Yeah.
One
of the things that I really relate to in your story, I don't have the history that you do in the church, but just the idea of inheriting your parents' beliefs. And I don't think that's just a Christian thing, right? I think that is something that we all, we all have. We all have that. It's what was presented to us in our house. And especially as religion goes, it's the thing that you are told is, this way is the only right way. Right. And even within divisions of Christianity, that changes, right? So I think it's really interesting. And I especially like trying to envision a non-Christian or somebody that didn't grow up a Christian listening to that. Yeah, you are born into this. Yes, for sure.
Yes. One of my favorite descriptions is that I was taking communion in my mother's womb because if she was taking it, then I was eating it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I was a part of communion as an embryo, and so it's that ingrained in us. Yeah. That, such that my mother and most of her side of the family, they drink coffee. I've never had a cup. And she says it's in my DNA. And so that does nothing but make me not want it even more. But she says the same thing about being Church of God in Christ, not even about Christianity, not about Christianity, not about being clergy. She said, Church of God in Christ is in your DNA.
Specifically, yeah.
You know, and here's the problem with that is I see words in picture. So what I see is someone pulling a sample of my blood and being able to look at it and magnify it and be able to see COGIC or decaffeinate it.
I love that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's not true. That's not the truth. So that's what keeps me going, okay, whatever. You know? I know that's not true. So that doesn't sell me. It doesn't move me from, continuing to choose curiosity over Christianity.
I love that phrase too. And I don't remember at what point in the book, but you say like you are not alone in your curiosity as you invite people to keep going, keep reading. And I that really struck me because I think that, again, conceptually, it's not necessarily something that you are told to shy away from, but when it comes down to actual practice of asking questions, there's a lot of barriers there.
Absolutely. I think you are being sweet by saying barriers. It's absolutely just a no. You do not have permission, not only because, and when we say do not have permission to ask questions, what we're really saying is you have no permission to think. You don't have permission to think outside of what I've told you is what I believe to be the truth. And so there's a shutting down of intellectualism. There's a shutting down of, as you even referred to earlier, of working that muscle of being intellectual and entertaining that side of oneself. There is a trading. You got to give that away in order to be Christian or to follow Jesus. And so I wanted people to know that if you are that person who is intellectual, if you are that person who is curious, you are not by yourself. And that you can love God and be curious. Yeah. You can love God and be curious about God and about how all of this works, how the world works and people work, and still have a relationship with God.
Yeah. I think it's a beautiful expression because we are made so differently, right? Yes. And what is God if not an expression of all those differences?
It's good.
Right?
It's good.
So at some point you went over to China. You were doing literally everything you could possibly do in the church. I mean, the list just kept going.
I've done it. When I tell you I have done it all, I mean, from ushering to directing choir to teaching Sunday school. I mean, because at one point, my pastors were the youth pastors. And on youth night, we were the only ones there. Sitting on the front row. So we did it all. We led the testimony service. I played the drums. I mean, everything.
I love that you played the drums.
Oh, yes. I taught myself how to play because the pastor said I couldn't play. Because I'm a girl.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. So my mom got me some drums.
Fantastic.
Yes, and my parents, I should say, got me some drums, and I taught myself how to play.
Awesome.
And when I conquered it, I stopped.
So interesting, but I love it.
I taught other kids how to play, so that when I stopped, they could take over.
That's fantastic. I think that's... I could bunny trail right off that into something totally different, but maybe we should stay somewhat on track. So, okay, you were doing all of the things. At what point is the transition that you decide I'm going to China?
The opportunity just presented itself. I had been engaged to a guy, first guy I'd ever fell in love with, actually the last guy I'd fallen in love with. I had to break that engagement off. And it just didn't go well. I met him at church, met him at the church that I was an associate minister, at a worship leader at. And so it didn't go well. And I was asked to have a seat for a moment to kind of recover. One thing led to another while I was breaking from obligation there. And I mean, and I'm thinking about all of the things that led to the presenting of the idea of going to China. Matter of fact, I run into, I think I could share this much, and I'm not hiding anything, it's just a long story, but I can share this much and say, I ran into my professor from my Bible college days, and he asked me, what was I doing? And I said I was in full-time ministry for free. And I made sure to say for free because I didn't want him to think I had this perspective of full-time ministry, particularly for a white man, was pastoring or ministry or being paid benefits. That's not the case in the Black church. You could be in full-time ministry and just hardly no money.
Wow.
You have to be a mega church.
Interesting.
Almost. I mean, nobody is, if there's a full-time person in ministry, particularly in the Black church, it is the pastor. But so he knew I wasn't pastoring. Mm-hmm. But if I'm saying full-time ministry, what is that? And so he started to ask me, well, what does that look like? And I'm trying to impress him. So I share some of the things. And I said prison ministry. I had gone with another student. He graduated. And I said, I'm going to prison ministry with Sandra. And he just kept asking. And so finally I said, China is on the table. He was like, oh, really? I said, yeah. He said, my son is in China. And I'm thinking, oh, God, it really wasn't on the table.
Oh, seriously?
I was just trying to impress him. And so he says, my son is in China. He's in China with this particular organization. You should talk to them. And literally, I'm standing in the lobby of the building, getting ready to exit. And this happens. I end up back in his office back in the building, in his office, on the floor. He had a couch, and I was sitting up against the couch on the floor, back up against the couch, on the phone with the organization that sent his son to China.
Wow.
I was leaving. What took me there was the prison ministry that I had done with my the other student. And I wanted to meet with her about the prison ministry opportunity, just kind of learning and wanting to express to her that I would love to continue to go, but learn. She's trying to get me to be a worship leader. I just felt like I should learn more before I do that, and she wasn't going for it. We go upstairs so that I could leave, and we run into our old professor. And that's how I ended up in his office, in the floor, on the phone with the organization who sent his son to China.
Wow. We
did an official interview a few days later, if not maybe a week later, and I got the job. But I didn't have any money because what was I doing? Full-time ministry for free.
Wow.
Literally, I was waking up every day asking God, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And so no money, no passport, nothing. I didn't have anything. No visa, never been out of the country. So they tell me, I need to raise the money. Again, Black church. So there's not a lot, it's particularly in missions, there's not a lot of money for that. Mm-hmm. There's not even a lot of mindset for that. Here in the Western country, where oppression and prejudice and racism still exist, often we are the mission. Shoot. So we trying to send our kids to college and sending our money to this organization and this foundation. We are the mission.
Yeah.
So, raising money for me to go to China. Okay. And I went to I was a part of a relatively small congregation. Mm-hmm. So I already knew that was going to work out. So I just kind of began to walk it out in faith. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to start packing. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another. And I ended up with the money to be able to buy a one-way ticket to San Diego for training for 2 weeks. And not knowing that in San Diego was a passport office. So I left on a one-way ticket to San Diego to then leave to go to China with no passport.
Oh, wow.
And did not know when I left, there was a passport office. So after my first day of training, literally after the first day, we get in the car. They drive me to the passport office. I pay for it to be expedited. And before the training is over, I have a passport. That's how I ended up in China.
What is your frame of mind going from, okay, I wake up every day with nothing super specific.
Right.
Don't need a whole lot because I am in my community to, I've never left the country. Here I go all the way across the world.
It was just another waking up. What do you want me to do today, God? That's it.
Were you scared to travel?
Apparently not. I will say that because of that breakup, It was just like, what else? It was like, often, and I don't know if we still do this, but, we have a major breakup. We cut our hair or get a tattoo or we're going to do something drastic, something different. And that's, it was that for me. I didn't cut my hair.
Yeah.
I went to China.
It's maybe a little excessive.
Yes, a little over the top. But that's what I did. I went to China.
Yeah.
I went to China and began teaching. Never taught before that. I was a substitute teacher here, but not as a real show up every day. But I taught English, and our job was to teach and love students. And if anything else came out of that, great. But what they mostly wanted was to address the need for love and affection, which was leading to pregnancy and abortion. And then often suicide because of the kind of shame that comes with those experiences.
Yeah.
And so our job was just to go love students, go be there for them, go hug them, go, that kind of thing, and perhaps even mentor. And if we offered salvation, that was a cherry on top. But of course, there were ways to do it that you can't just do here. So I went and started teaching, and students began to ask me, why was I so happy? And I didn't know I was happy. But they began to ask me, and the only answer I knew to give them was what was given to me. I was happy because I had Jesus. Was happy because I had salvation. I was happy because I was a Christian. And I used that question to then start a Bible study.
Okay.
And I worked a Bible study for most of the 2 years I was there.
So what does that look like, starting a Bible study in China?
Weird, awkward, because, a little bit of anxiety because you can't do that.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. But I was followed in China by the police. They went through my trash. They tapped my phone, went through my emails. So they were looking to see what I was doing. The presumption is that everyone from Western culture is a Christian. And that usually is the case. We just don't know it. But other countries and cultures are smart enough to know that's the truth. And we often think that Christianity is a choice, but it's actually regional. It's a part of our culture.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, they know that about us, and they are looking to see if we're going to go to an underground church or if we're going to start an underground church. So that's why they were following me to the store. I was going to the store. Or they would, thank God, I don't think it happened to me, but sometimes they would even plant students in your class. Or not students, police that look like students.
Right.
Yeah, in your classroom. I don't think it happened to me, but just trying to see what you got going on, what you're doing, what you're trying to do, that kind of thing. So,
I mean, and how, I guess, did they know you were doing the Bible study and it was okay?
If they did, I'm alive.
Yeah.
And I made it through my 2 years. What would have happened is that they would have ushered me out of the country.
Okay.
And I would not have been able to return.
Okay.
That's the reason it was only a 2-year thing. I wanted to be able to leave on good terms. And if I wanted to go back, I could go back, and be okay. I don't remember, the day it started. I just remember I had 7 students for 2 years, and it was the same 7 students.
Oh, okay.
No one ever dropped off. I literally graduated them from the Bible study. I took them through the prayer of salvation. I gave them a MP3 player. In China, they had a little stick of the book of Luke, because that's what we did for 2 years. We read through the book of Luke and discussed. I gave them professional pictures. We all took professional pictures. They had never taken professional pictures before. They were poor. And so that was kind of like a graduation present for showing up for 2 years every time we gathered.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We read through the book of Luke and discussed, and they asked questions. They asked tough questions. I'll never forget being asked why Jesus wanted to see that moms or daughters would be against mothers and fathers would be against their sons. That was scripture. And you talk about family oriented, they're going to college for their family.
Yeah.
That's all that matters to Chinese people and Chinese culture is family. That's all that matters to them. And we're reading about Jesus tearing the family up. I was stuttering. And I think like,
Yeah.
I still don't know how I answered that question.
Yeah, I guess, did you feel equipped to
answer that question? No.
Well, I guess in general, did you feel equipped as you walked down this road?
Yes.
You know, I know going into it, I'm sure you felt equipped to do it. But as you were met with the reality, did you feel more confident, or is that kind of when you started to step back and
maybe start asking about
some
the
questions?
Things? It really wasn't. I think I probably felt confident. I don't know. I don't know if I remember how I felt more than just being prayerful. You know, I think that's a good sign of not being, overly confident.
Sure.
It's just like, God, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And so I started to ask questions more so when I experienced culture shock here in the States. You know, I got the job on a Thursday and flew out the following Friday.
Wow. And
again, had never been out of the country. On our last 2 days, they tried to prepare us for culture shock. And one of the biggest things they said is, we'll be there to support you. You can't just up and leave and go down the street and go home. So you gotta, we gotta figure out how to get through this. And these are some of the resources, and go and talk to somebody, etc. I didn't experience culture shock in China at all.
Really?
Not even a little bit.
That's amazing, actually.
It was when I came back to the States.
Yeah.
2 places I experienced culture shock: church and Walmart. I went to the yogurt section and had to go home. It was so much yogurt. It was so many different flavors. Just like, and the light was shining on it really bright, and I was like, I have to go. It's too much. It was like,
church and yogurt. I
so
love it.
many things. Right. That's a title. Church
right?
and yogurt. It was so many different flavors, so many different choices.
Yeah.
And the thing is that wasn't a lot of those choices in China. We had to make lots of adjustments. And so I experienced culture shock standing in Walmart and at church when they started to talk about the devil in your life, when they started to talk about tithing, or not even talk about it, but, kind of transition into that part of the gathering. And I remember the sound of the envelopes that I didn't realize had a sound prior to leaving for a year. And then communion. There were 2 parts to this realization. And one part was heavier than the other. Number 1, I hadn't participated in this stuff for a year. Number 2, I hadn't realized that I hadn't participated in this for a year. I told you, I've been taking communion since I was in my mother's womb. This is what I've known all of my life. My mother was tithing when I was born. I go away for 7, 8, 9, 10 months, 11 months, and I forgot. How?
Yeah.
How could I have forgotten? And when I went to China, I was at least licensed. At least. When I went to China, I had graduated from college with a degree in biblical studies. How? 1 year. And that is what the questions were. How am I living away and forgetting in 1 year what I have been doing all of my life? And that is what started the seek.
Yeah.
So I went back to China for the 2nd year. And in China, there's us. So there's the opportunity to celebrate Christmas, New Year, and then the Chinese New Year. So that's about a 2-month vacation. My first year, I took that opportunity to go to Hong Kong and do ministry. Like, I never vacationed. I was just always, that's all I knew, so that's all I did. So I go to Hong Kong the first year. The 2nd year, I said, you know what? I'm going to stay in my room. Just kind of feel like how I felt, or what I felt like God was wanting me to do. And I read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. I did it every day for 2.5 months.
Wow.
Until I finished.
Yeah.
And, I was seeing things differently at that point. I wasn't seeing things through the eyes of a pastor or a preacher. I wasn't seeing things through Western Christianity and the things that had been taught to me. I wasn't seeing it through the convictions of my parents. Now I'm seeing people. I'm seeing past the pages, and I'm seeing people. I was interviewed the other day, and talking about how I'm reading about the beginning and how it was, quote unquote, created, how the world was created. But I'm reading that from the author, who is supposed to be Moses, who's not born yet. Now I'm seeing people, not pages. Now I'm seeing people and not the Hebrew definition. Now I'm seeing people and not being smart enough to preach a good message. Now I'm seeing people. I'm now asking Moses, how you know? Now I'm seeing Adam and Eve not write their own story. And so then that led to one thing. If Moses was not there, Adam and Eve didn't write their story, then here's the question. Then now what do I do? First question, now what do I do? Then there's the next questions. Well, how did this all begin? So now I get to be curious. And now I get to read and study other books and other people and read other things and go and explore. And now I get to do all that because I don't know how this all began. And not only that, it takes me off my religious pedestal. Because if I don't know, then how can I judge a Muslim about their choice of religion, or a Jewish person, or a Scientology person? How can I say they are all going to this place called hell, and now I don't know, and I'm not sure about what Christianity has taught me? And so it took me out of the race of trying to convert people, because I'm not sure either. You know what I mean? If the beginning is not clear, if there is room for question in the beginning, then there's room for question for all of it. And that's a part of what is the problem with Christianity. If you ask questions about this, you got to ask questions about all of it. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Let's do that.
Yes.
Let's live life curiously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got so wrapped up in what you were saying. I'm like, I don't have anything else to say. That was all right. We're done, I think. No, I love it. It is, wow. It's a lot. That is a lot. Again, as somebody, and I think a lot of people are going to resonate with that, just coming from any religious background and coming to a place, a crossroads of, do I keep walking down this path even though I do have questions? Right. Or do I believe that my God stands up to scrutiny? Right? Like, and so I think it is an expression of faith, an expression of deep faith, in fact, to be able to rest in question and not necessarily have an answer. That's so good.
That's so good. That's good. That's good. I don't have any expounding on that. I literally, it was it this morning that I heard, just kind of being asked, what do I believe in? And I believe in curiosity. I'm even okay with people questioning the existence of God. I understand that.
Right.
I understand it. I get it. I've not stopped short of asking the question, because by the time I finished that Bible, I was angry. And, so you can ask questions of God. You can not believe in a God. Whatever it is you believe, it becomes a part of your experience. So what I decided to do was to believe that there's a God, and then assign what I believe about that God to that God, if you will. And then that now becomes my experience, as spirituality is a priority in my life. So I don't want to believe that God is a God of hate. I don't want to believe God is telling people to kill other people. I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that God is all loving, So now, because that is a priority in my life, God or spirituality is a priority. And then what I believe about God is that God is love. So now that is a part of my life experience.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Absolutely.
So, I had to redefine, ask myself if I believe about God. Then if I believe in God, then if I do, what do I believe about God? And why do I believe? that about God.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm always asking myself those questions, particularly as societal opportunities present themselves. What do I believe about that? How do I see that through the eyes of love is my question. How do I see this person, or how do I see this issue? How do I see this political issue? How do I see this war? And how do I don't have any commentary right now about what we're seeing. I'm trying to learn.
Yes.
And so until I learn, and I don't know that I will learn it all, I'll probably just end up being silent. I think what I do know, I'm sure I know, is that I hate to see people dying. I'm sure I know that. But why all this is happening, and I don't know. And I think it's hard to commentate on the information being presented to us. Someone is choosing that information. And I don't know if they're presenting all of it to me. Yeah, I was talking to my nephew last night. I said, I hate when people say, and there's some books of the Bible that's lost. No, they aren't. King James called together a group of men, and these were the options presented to them. From the options presented to them, we had 66 books. Nothing was lost. They chose these books.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop saying this. And then we got to talk about the lost books. No books was lost. These were the choices presented to us. So not all of the information or the options were presented to us. This is it. And you don't have any questions? Or you're just so confident and so sure, that you know what you're talking about with all of this Israel, this and that. And I don't know, because all I know is the information presented to me. Nobody really knows like the people who live there.
Absolutely.
And still, we are only being presented with the stories that most benefit the presenter.
100%. Right. And there's that famous quote, history is written by the victors, right? So whoever has the stage or the soapbox, as it were, gets to tell the story.
Yes.
And that's an important perspective that we need to always keep in mind when we're talking about history.
Yes.
When we're talking about almost anything, right? We have to keep in mind that humans are flawed. And we make bad decisions. And even in good faith, we make bad decisions. And we don't necessarily realize the repercussions that those decisions have. I mean, I think it would be fascinating to know what these writers of the books of the Bible would think if they saw us now, doing what we're doing and saying what we're saying. Like, how much would they be like, whoa, that is not what I meant. Or, I don't know, but like, it's an interesting thought to think about.
I write an entry in the book with the question, did they study the male? What you read in a lot of the New Testament, a lot of it was written mostly by Paul, or I shouldn't say a lot of the New Testament was written mostly by Paul. What we're reading is mostly assigned to his authorship. A lot of it is letters that were sent to his audience.
Yeah.
And so imagine receiving that letter in the mail. It was a letter because he was distant. So he had to have it sent somehow, of course not post office, but however it got there, whether it was carrier or whatever, they get this piece of mail. They read it. You get this piece of mail out of your mailbox. You read it. What do you do with it when you finish?
Right back, or depending on what kind of mail it is, you store it away or you throw it away or whatever. Here it is. We are reading the mail, and there's a whole system of religion created around the mail. Yeah.
Every one of the most popular nights of gathering for Christianity is Wednesday night, Bible study. And we're studying somebody else's mail. The people it was written to didn't do that.
Yeah.
And how do I know? Because I don't do that.
Yeah.
I get the mail, I read it, I either throw it away, store it away, something. They read it and put it away. They archived it. Right. They didn't study it. So here we are on Wednesday nights breaking down the Hebrew word for one of the words in one of Paul's letters. And there's a whole system of coming together, organized religion around someone else's mail.
Dang. Yeah. Wow. And not to put too fine a point on it, but within that as well, could you imagine like even, I don't know, letters from World War II being intercepted and not all the letters, just some of the letters, and building a religion.
Come on, friend.
Around that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous.
Yes. A religion. And now, a lot of what we're seeing is a result of what we've read in these books. A lot of death that we're seeing, a lot of children dying as a result of what we are reading in these books or in that book. My nephew was so surprised to learn last night, and me too, one aspect of it, my nephew being gay, was surprised to know that King James was gay and also had his mother killed. Yeah. Wow. I had to Google that one myself. I was like, wait, what? And his version of the Bible is the most sold book in the world. And then, there are Christians who would say, well, we don't follow his version, but the version you follow is a version of his.
Right. Right. Come
Like,
on.
What do you mean? I got the information from a guy who was saying that his mother thought that King James was sent by God just out of the blue. She didn't know he was the actual king, sent by God to write the Bible.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. And so he said she had no idea he was gay, and he named his lover, which was another political official, and didn't know that he had killed his mother. So I'm only saying had her killed because the information I read, I'm not sure he actually did it, but she was beheaded.
Wow.
Yeah. Thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
Is in his version of the Bible. So, and all of this is the fuel behind a lot of the war that we're privy to.
Yes.
Over there and over here.
Yes.
Our wars just don't look like
100%.
yet. Prayerfully not ever.
Yeah.
But, it's still a back and forth all the time. If the foundation is questionable, if in the beginning God created the heavens and earth was written by a kid or a man who wasn't even thought of yet, when the beginning happened, then we got to ask questions about the rest of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I write about sin, and I ask, the word sin in the first used in the Old Testament is offended. It means to offend. So I asked the question, who was offended? Because what I was taught was that sin is against God.
Yeah.
That's what I was taught. But the word sin is not used until Cain and Abel and their in that story and their conflict. Mind you, remember, Eve had eaten of the tree, right? Where's the word sin? So I asked the question, who was offended? So we assumed, based on the narrative, that God was offended because they were removed from the garden. But what was that? What if that, based on the narrative, what was that? What if that was love? Because actually the word said, the verse says, God says, or Moses says, God says, that so that they won't be like us, let's move them. So that they won't be like us and live forever, let's move them. Not because she ate of the tree. Since she ate of the tree, let's move her out the garden. I'm offended. That's not what happened. So you never see the word sin until it's two humans with two humans. Cain is about to offend his brother and his family. And so by, killing his brother. And so that's where you see the word sin. So, now I have questions about offending God. Is God offended? Is that possible? And
wow.
Until I get an answer to that, I'm finna go live. Like, I'm not finna try to figure that out. I'm just gonna be free. You know what I mean? And try to figure out what is conviction for me.
Yeah.
What is integrity for me? And all of that for me can be measured by love, And then I had to ask myself the question, well, what is love? What does that mean for me? Because then people say, well, love, it can be defined by anybody, or you can for me, it's home. It is when you walk into your house. I went to work out yesterday. My house did not reject me when I walked back in funky. I mean, sweaty, sweatband is soaking wet. I go outside to clean my bike and my shoes are soaking wet. I bring the bike in and my bike is soaking wet and the doors open wide. They don't close. They don't reject me. I have a bad day. I go into the house and peace invites me. It hugs me. It embraces me. It never turns me away. No matter how I come home, attitude, sick, hungry, mean, angry, it never turns me away. What is love? Home. And so how do I translate that to other people? How do I be home to other people, no matter the differences?
Yeah.
And most times my house is darn near immaculate. And then I walk in it filthy. You know what I mean? And it never turns me away. It doesn't say, hey, I'm clean.
Yeah.
Don't come in here with all that. It doesn't do that.
You talk a lot in your book, and you've already said it here today too. Your mission as a missionary in China was to love people, right? Like, and the organization you were with saw value in that, right? And I think in the West, a lot of our, especially coming from evangelicalism, there is a lot of emphasis placed on numbers, right? The winning souls. Yeah. And you will have entire presentations about people being one. You weren't able to do that, obviously, but there was still so much value seen in being sent over on a mission just to love people. So I guess where are your thoughts now where that's concerned?
I actually write about that. I can't remember what I wrote, but I literally just asked the question, what does that mean? What does it mean to win a soul? Here's the again, I see words in picture. Soul, as defined, is not tangible. So why does it even need to be won? Yeah. It's not tangible. It is probably, if I could give it a definition, it is the intangible God. It is the intangible, it is the spirit that is God. So the spirit that is God needs to be won. What does that mean to soul win? And so I stopped doing it. You have to, one of the things you have to do, I do write about this, in order to win a soul, I have to believe that every mother in the world, especially because my job was to win the souls of the world, not just my neighborhood, not just my family, but my mission is to go around the world winning souls. So I have to believe that every mother is bringing into the world a soul that is broken. I have to believe that in order to continue this mission of soul winning, that mama brought a broken child into the world. And, I don't want to believe that anymore.
Yeah.
As simple as that. I don't want to believe that anymore. I ask closer to the end of the book, I wrote an entry called A God Like This. And I asked the question, why Christians believing in hell have children? Why would you do that? Why would you bring children into a world of free will where at some point they're going to be able to make their own choices? And according to Christianity, if you make the wrong choices, you go into hell. Why would you do that? Why not leave us where we're already saved and safe?
Wow.
Because every gift, according to Christianity, according to its authority, which is the Bible, every good and perfect gift comes from God. So when we come into the world, how y'all describe us? She's just so perfect. She's just such a good baby. She's good and she's perfect. And then we have this celebration around genders and reveals. But if the soul is dying, if the soul is already a sinner, David is written of him to have said, or he writes of himself actually, according to the narrative, I was born in sin, shaped in iniquity. Well, then if humanity is born in sin, then we shouldn't be celebrating. We need to be having some mourning sessions.
Right? Wow.
Born in sin, shaped in iniquity. And so I am giving my life over to salvation because I was born in sin, shaped in iniquity. And if we don't know, Christianity borrows and takes on everybody else's story. David said, I, not we. And so because he said I get to ask him, so what makes you think that? Put him on the couch of therapy. Yeah. Where'd that belief come from? You know what I mean? And let's walk through that to figure out where that came from and why, and see if we can get back to how God sees you, how God sent you. Jeremiah, in the book of Jeremiah, he is believed to have been a prophet, said that God knew him before he was in his mother's womb. So, I asked the question, how did God know me before I was in the womb, if that is my story? So if God knew Jeremiah, then I believe God knew me. That is what I choose to believe. Because we can apply the same thing. He said I, so that doesn't have to be my story. But if I want to believe in God, I get to assign to God what I want to believe about God. I believe that if Jeremiah feels that way, that God could possibly have known me before I was in the womb. How? Why? What that looked like? God knew himself. I was God. I am that I am. And so, here it is. God is you. You are God, born in the image and likeness of God, born a sinner, shaped in iniquity. Which one are we accepting here? You know what I mean? And so I get to put David on the couch, and let's work back to how God sees you. How no matter what I do, Chandrika, my parents who know about Lord, I don't want to die a Christian, they keep answering the phone. Because no matter what, I'm their child.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to change how they see me. I'm their child. I am Lamisa a lot, and Wayne's child. I call him, he answers the phone. How you doing, baby? Lord, I don't want to die a Christian. They are somewhere at church right now, pastoring, and their oldest child. So it's the same thing. So we need to work you through that, David, except we don't do that. David said, no, that ain't what it say. And then, so let's accept that he said I, and then let's talk to him about it and see if we can get him back to how God sees him.
Yeah. I love the idea, and I think it kind of goes in what you're already saying, as we're formed in the image of God, right? So we are all made in that image. And that is what I keep thinking about when you're talking about, I am God. Does God hate himself? So I think that there is so much depth there. And I also think that it's okay to walk away from this conversation and be like, I don't know.
Period.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And it makes me, it takes me off the religious pedestal. It makes me equal with everybody else.
Yes.
This is how I love people.
Yes.
Because there's nothing left for me to do.
Well, and I would also say too, it forces you to have a humility if you don't have any answers to any questions.
Any question. No. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm asking too. And I do this all the time with my students. I don't know. I'm learning just like you learn.
Yep.
And so, I don't know. I preached some years ago. Do we see? I just kind of went through Genesis chapter 1 down to Genesis chapter 2 before, as the narrative goes, before Eve ate of the tree. And after that, we just kind of went through the next part, of things that happened according to the narrative after she ate of the tree. When we finished, I asked everybody, I said, do y'all see where God took his image back? I mean, it was, if I can say this, my brother used to say, you can hear a mouse piss on cotton. It was quite.
Yeah.
Not quiet. It was quite a hush fell over the room, and they was like, what? So then what do we do with sin? You know, so we're back to that. What do we do with that? What do we do with Jesus dying for my sin and I've had to walk through all of that.
Yeah.
What do I do with that? What do I do with salvation? What do I do with redemption? And I've dealt with all that.
Because the reality is you have not walked away from God.
No.
So, because there is a part of that where you say, all right, then I'm not taking any of it. Like, I can't figure out, and I want to say, like, whatever you believe is what you believe. But coming from coming from being in that, like, very heavy religion, you know,
I carried my Bible everywhere I went.
Right. From that to moving into, I have questions about everything now.
Yes.
You could have dropped it all and said, all right, then I'm done. If I can't have answers to any of this, then I don't believe any of it.
Right.
And people do that.
Yes.
But you have not.
No.
You have pressed into having questions.
Yes. And allowing this idea of God to answer those questions. But if I don't have it, just keep living. Just keep waking up saying good morning. I don't have to have answers to all these questions to love people. And that is the most important part.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions about loving God and loving people. None. I don't have any questions about love.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Can find no holes in that. Love people. Period.
I mean, I think it's as simple as that. It is as simple as that.
That's it.
But it also, you know, again, here we go from concept to practicality. Conceptually, that sounds so good and so simple.
It's not been easy.
It is hard.
It is hard. I thought I was going to come back and just be like, oh, I love you, girl. I literally moved into an apartment complex so that I could learn small enough so that I could meet neighbors. And I wanted to be able to put myself in a position to learn the differences and still love people. I wanted to learn what they were. I lived across the street from a Jewish synagogue. I went over there to meet the people, and they thought I was over there to hurt them.
Oh.
Literally thought I was over there to do something to them. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
We finally got past that, and I remember, and I write about this. Lady asked me, and her name is in the book, but she asked me, or said to me, I wish everybody could be Jewish. I said, ma'am, before you are Jewish and before I'm Pentecostal, we're neighbors. Can we just be that? I don't want to be Jewish. I don't even want to be Christian. Can we just be neighbors? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And so I started to plant myself in different places. I just recently tried to reconnect with some Muslim friends of mine that I made after I came back from China. I went to the masjid, I think as you say, and hung out with them. I watched mothers with their children pray and the men in another room praying. And I saw all of the similarities. The men where I come from, they're in the pulpit and the women can't be in the pulpit and the men are up there praying and the women are down there praying. They have their kids and we're sitting right next. I was just like, we are so divided, but doing the same things.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? The mothers are praying and the kids are, and you know, I could see us, you know, elbowing each other and mama pinching us. Be quiet, turn around in it. You know, it was the same thing. And so just getting to know different people and being in their presence and learning who they are and what they're about and what their beliefs are with no intent to change them. No intent to change. That is the funnest part for me, to be able to walk away and leave them as they were, as I've been left as I am. And I'm glad I even said that because I've been saying recently, I've never seen a religion stand against other religions like Christianity. I can't think of another religion that stands against Christianity. Everybody's minding their religion except Christianity. I was asked if, you don't think we should stand against African spirituality? No. I think you should love people. Stop trying to change people. Stop. You don't even know what that is anyway. You've never even been to Africa. You don't know what that is, where it comes from, why it is, nothing. You've not studied. It just, the words don't say Christianity, so you think you should stand against it. But I bet you people who practice African spirituality are not standing against Christianity. Only religion I know. I really don't know of another religion that does the converting that Christianity does. Not like Christianity. There may be some. We got some Muslims that stand outside and pass out papers and things like that. But I think that's mostly informing versus converting.
Right. I mean,
what other
historically
religion,
speaking,
I don't know of another religion. Now, maybe I don't know of all of them.
Yeah. I mean,
my
I guess.
My job is to seek to convert you.
Right. Well, yeah. Again, I mean, history says how many countries were colonized into Christianity.
There you go. I
mean,
it was colonization. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, and it's
manifest destiny.
Yeah. So it's the same stuff. Yeah. It may look different because the person that's asking me is younger or, lives in Alabama versus, Great Britain or whatever. It just, I just want to love people. Can I just do that? So that's where I landed after I finished reading the Bible, after I got over realizing that there was so much in it we aren't doing and so much that we are doing that's not in it. I landed at, can I just love God? I actually asked God, what do I do? And he said, I believe I heard, can you just love God and love people? And by the way, listeners, I don't believe God is a he. Trying to shake it, but that's what I believe I heard. And so, no, it wasn't easy. I was walking into apartments that had condoms and liquor on the table and having a seat, and leaving going, good job, Jan. And now these are family members, and I was in Costa Rica recently, and there was a yoga exercise every day, and I never wanted to get up that early. But one morning I did get up and go out there and just lay on the mat. And when it was all over, the yoga instructor came to hand me a card. She said, would you like a card? I said, no, ma'am. And then I went in there and sat next to her. I had breakfast. That's it.
Yeah.
That's not my thing. But I don't have to seek to convert her from it. I don't think she's the devil. I don't think she's a witch. I don't think any of that. This is her way of exploring spirituality. That was good, Chandrika. Yes. This is her way of exploring spirituality. And so leave her be and then go sit by and have lunch, have breakfast. Yeah. Bye, girl. See you tomorrow.
I think there's definitely something to be said for, we put God in such a small box, right? And so if we truly believe that God is who they say they are, then do we believe that God is capable of meeting anybody as they're seeking to meet him, right? Like in whatever expression that is. Yes. Do we really think that God is saying, well, they're not calling me by the right name, so I am not going to meet them where they're at.
Right. And we should also know that the word God did not always exist either, and that it had different definitions depending on the culture. So God is not God.
Right.
You know what I mean? God is not even God. So y'all can miss me with all of the, but that's why I said this is her way of exploring spirituality. I didn't say God.
Right.
The spiritual part of herself. There's something I think within all of us, for some reason, we feel like we exist beyond these bodies. I don't know why we do, but we do. Because nobody knows that we exist beyond these bodies, but those who don't exist beyond in this body. So some reason we believe we exist beyond these bodies, and everybody gets to explore what that is and what that looks like, if that is, and if it has a look, however they deem fit to do.
Yeah. So what did the rest of your time in China look like? And then why did you leave?
So my first year I was there, my first teachers meeting. We come together to discuss how the year is going to look and how planning is going to look every week and where it's going to be and all of the things. And I was in that meeting and I heard 1 more year. The funny, crazy, dumb, stupid thing is that I heard that and made a commitment to that before there was an earthquake.
Okay.
And child, we were in that on that top floor of that building, and that building started to sway.
Oof.
Listen, and I had made a commitment to come back the next year. What? probably one of the most vulnerable feelings of my life. Because, great, I got my students out of the building. We're out of the building. And then if it falls, what? There's nowhere to go. There's no place to go. I had made this commitment. I go to my apartment and go to sleep because the anxiety has worn me out and I don't know if I'm going to wake up the next day. But I had made this commitment. I went back the next year because I made the commitment for one more. Had I heard one more, I would have stayed another year. Mm-hmm. Practically speaking, it was because I feel like I was afraid that I would get too comfortable and not be welcomed back because I got too comfortable. And I wanted to make sure that I would be welcomed back. Now, I don't know after, releasing this book, talking a lot about that experience, if I would be welcomed back, because I'm sure they, would do a lot of investigatory things, particularly if I went to be employed there. I think but I know for sure I could go back and visit. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be able to go back and visit if I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Have you been back?
No, okay. I hadn't. I wouldn't mind going back.
Yeah.
Short term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not long term like I did.
Right.
I have family in the States and they think I live too far now.
So you're from where?
Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And is your family largely all still there?
All of them.
Okay.
I'm the only one that left.
Wow.
My parents, my sisters, I'm the only one that moved.
Well, you're like, listen, it's not China. So
right, it's not China. So be happy.
You can still, yeah.
Right.
You can make Georgia work.
and they are happy with Georgia, but hey,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am had I left. Had I not left. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love who I am. I love the becoming.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to that,
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that's young now, I like coming of age young,
And I kind of really I see that differently, actually. I don't want to say, I want to take that back, not the becoming, but the unbecoming. To then see who I really am and love that person. It's been a lot of unlearning. And the more I unlearn, the more revelation of who I am is revealed.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in unlearning. Yeah.
Only to learn what has been there.
Mm-hmm.
I lost, I guess, or I should say a friend dropped off. That same friend we were talking about, African spirituality, I believe dropped off because of that difference. And this book has been out, I think, going on 3 years. And over the 3 years, I have dropped several relationships, probably 3 this year. And we talk about 20-year relationships.
Yeah.
But it was this last one that revealed wealth, Chandrika as wealth for me. There's a wealth that comes along with thinking apart from the majority. Mm-hmm. But also understanding that if I accept myself as wealth, then it will be the experience as well. Life will start to hand me the experience of wealth tangibly. I don't know why that friendship, but the removal of that friendship revealed wealth. You have to be wealthy to be courageous, enough to be authentic in expressing what you believe, even though it's not popular. This has got to be what it's like to be Jobs, the guy who created Microsoft. It's got to be, what's the guy's name who owns Twitter?
Elon Musk.
You have to be that unique and think apart from everyone else to say, I'm going to create a ship and take everyday folk to space. You can't be popular. That's what it means. They were wealthy before they were wealthy. And so their creativity came out of their wealth and accepting their authenticity, their difference. And so, when I did the interview the other day, I was asked about the isolation from Black church when you start to think apart from them. Mm-hmm. And I understand, I can totally understand and relate to the isolation. But then it also hands you this gift of revealing, but look who you are, but look who you've always been, the courageousness that you've always been, that you are now discovering about yourself. Look who you are. Yeah. Look how rich you are. I am rich. And the bills need to be paid and the mortgage need to be paid. I'm not debt free yet, but I'm on my way because I've accepted myself as wealthy.
Yeah.
I am wealth. It's not an extension of me. It is me. I am wealth. So now I'm looking forward to experiencing that manifestation of who I am because I have accepted that about myself.
Yeah.
So thank you for dropping off. Thank you. I miss you. But thank you. Because had you stayed, I wouldn't have been introduced to that part of who I am.
Yeah.
Because I don't regret thinking differently. I don't regret that. But man, the things that come out of accepting it and being okay with that part of who you are is rich.
Yeah, you write in your book about rejection, which that was good. The fear of rejection
versus the spirit of rejection.
Yes.
And you cannot know, and I literally mean that, you cannot know how that phrase is wielded in the African American church expression. Oh, and you know, I'm trying to throw up and get and roll out and get delivered from this spirit of rejection. And it's not a spirit. It's life.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's a part of life. And, I'm trying to get prayed for and get it out and roll it out and throw it up and chuck it and, all of the things. And it's a waste of time. It's going to happen. What are you going to do with it? So I understand that there can be a fear of rejection, but there's no such thing as a spirit of rejection. Get your hands off me. Stop laying hands on me calling out this spirit. It's not a spirit. I say all the time, where all the spirits of come from? The spirit of rebellion and the spirit of this and we have more spirits made up than it is in the Bible. Not even Jesus did all that. Come out, you spirit of lust. Stop it.
Well, I don't know because this hasn't been my experience, but is there a part of that then kind of reinforces these ideas? Like, because it's not almost like because I don't have control over it, it's a spirit. Is there then this feeling like, well, then all of the spirits are attacking me kind of thing?
I don't know. I've never heard people say all of the spirits are attacking, but it's always definitely more than one.
Yeah. I guess I just mean like, do you think it compounds the issue when you're not actually dealing with this is why I feel rejected, but it's not just a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing. Yeah.
One of the ways I feel like I answer that is the reason it's perpetuated is because it yields a need for authority, because nobody can get the spirit out of you but an authority. If you notice how everything is set up, you got a spirit in you, you go to the priest, and you get the exorcist thing and all of that. So you need them, and they have a need for significance. So they need you to need them to feel significant in your life. So there's always this pronouncing of a spirit on you so that you can go to them to then have that spirit removed or you be delivered from that spirit. You rarely hear the pronouncing of you. Ooh, I feel this. The pronouncing of you are whole and complete and lack nothing. Again, interview the other day talking about an artist who has just released a new album, and I'm sure they knew who he was. I didn't say his name, who is projecting brokenness because of his own story. So he's broken and everybody else is. And I want, he's very, very popular. So I feel like I'm looking for a post that I can say, sir, you are not broken. And what argument are you going to pose to me? Yes, I am, because sir, when is your therapist going to tell you that you are not broken? I understand the experiences you've had. Your perspective can be broken. How you see things can be broken. But you, the essence of who you are not broken. Stop talking. Stop saying that. But it sells. It's going to sell records.
Sure.
So, there's a dependence that people need to feel significant. They don't feel significant in being in their uniqueness. They don't feel significant in their individuality. People don't feel significant, so they rest in, or they find significance in position and preach and project and make you feel like you need them to be free.
Yeah. Wow. Whew.
The free that you are.
Yeah.
You already free, but we tell you that you aren't, so that you can depend on us to get free. And then we get you right to the line of freedom, and then we go, next time.
Yeah.
It keeps you coming back. We need you for next
sure.
Sunday. We need you next Sunday. So, because if you don't need me, then, because I had to go through that.
Yeah.
I don't need y'all now. So now what am I doing here?
Yeah.
So I'm not coming to get anything anymore. I'm not coming so you can feed my spirit. I'm not coming for any of that. Now I'm coming to contribute to fellowship, not membership, but to fellowship. And that can look all kinds of ways.
Yes.
I love singing about God. I love singing. I love music. I love to sing about God. And I don't sing everything that they sing about God. But now I'm contributing versus I'm coming to get something from you. But they don't like that. They don't like that. Now listen.
Yeah.
I need you to be a little more dependent. So yeah, get you right to the edge so that you'll come back the next Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've talked about the relationships that have left you from this. Have you been able to build community around this?
Yes. I wouldn't say around this. I think it's still happening. Slowly but surely. But I've been able to build community outdoors. So I love, the outdoors. So I have created an initiative here in Columbus called Bikes, Breakfast, and Black Girls to get us together for fellowship, to create a safe place for us to be Black women, to create a safe place for us to be women and not wives and not professionals and not mothers and not daughters and not, all of the things, just be girls. But there is also, there's a culture, there's a flavor of expression that we need to be, and we need it to be a safe space, and particularly outdoors, because we still struggle with feeling safe outdoors. So when I say Bikes, Breakfast, and Black Girls, they show up from everywhere. And because they feel safe, they go, okay, that's me. I can go and know that I'm not going to be left. I'm not going to be left outdoors. I'm not going to be uneducated. I'm going to be empowered. So that's what I do. I do that every other month at the end of the month for this year. I might try to do it next year every month. So we'll see. So that's community. Outdoors is it for me.
Yeah. Outdoors
is it. So it's the place where the expression of God as Chandrika has the most room. Somebody write that down. Anybody out there with a piece of paper?
I'm going to send that clip to you.
There's so much more room outdoors for the expression of God that is Chandrika. Try not to cry. But, there's no limits. There's no walls, no ceilings. My newest goal is to learn how to fly. So I want to spend my 50th year, I'll be 50 next year, learning how to fly.
Very cool.
Yeah. So to explore, again, the lack of limits in the sky as much as possible. So yeah, outdoors.
Love it.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? I mean, you're a speaker, you're an author. What's
working
next?
every day. Yeah. Working every day and not wanting to be there next year. I want to spend next year, again, learning how to fly. And if it would be great to be able to fly to some speaking opportunities, to go over to Columbus Airport, get on a plane and fly myself there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to be writing anything else. I think this is probably going to be my greatest contribution, and keep having these conversations, keep opening the door to young people who love this idea of God, but have questions. I have a niece and a nephew who are greatly influenced by their grandparents. Thank God for that. My parents mean well in teaching them what they know about God like they did us. But I also want my niece and nephew to have or know that I was on the same journey, raised by the same people. I have questions, and if you do, it's okay. It's okay to have questions, to not have the answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I offer a resolve. So there are some chapters in the book where I do offer a resolve. But then there are some chapters in the book where the chapter is literally one question, and I let you grapple with that question on your own. Also in the book, there is a place for you to write. There's a journal entry after each chapter where you can also write your own questions or write out your thoughts or your resolve as a result of the questions that I ask.
Yeah.
So you joining me on the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So I do have one question that I ask everybody at the end of the show. And it is, what I love about our stories is that nobody can tell you you're wrong about it. It's your
yours.
Lived experience, right?
Right.
So it's not, when you're telling your story, it's not about facts. It is about what you felt and
your interpretation of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So through the lens of your experience, what does it mean to you to be compassionate?
I love that question. For a long time, man, this is such a great question. It's going to be a long answer.
Go for it.
For a long time, I had no contact with the empath that I am. Didn't know it existed until after. Religion, I think, takes that away, and we're seeing that. No empathy. It just takes it away. The religion that tells you you are right in what you believe, it uninvites empathy. It wasn't until after I arrived to this place that I was introduced to the empath that is also Chandrika. And so that's what it is for me. Compassion is the ability to relate, to see yourself in other people, to see yourself in other people's situation, to feel their pain, their happiness, their gladness, their joy, their sadness, to be able to feel that, even if you don't know or understand.
Yeah.
For me, compassion is and the ability also to do something about what you're feeling. A lot of times I can't watch. So let me kind of answer that again as I've walked through my answer. Compassion is the ability to do something about your empathy, to offer a solution to the person whose emotion you're feeling, particularly when they're sad, depressed, and in pain. But empathy is also the ability to feel without having the experience. I don't have to have the experience of war to hurt because it's happening. I'm stuck at, again, and I'm trying not to cry, I'm stuck at sleeping, going to work one day, picking my children up from school. I don't have any kids, and I've lived this already. Picking my children up from school, going home, making dinner for the family, putting my children to bed, making sure they're ready for school the next day. And there's bombs the next day. What? My peace is interrupted by war the next, it was just no process. No warning that I know of, at least the narrative we're being shown. Nothing. It's just all of a sudden just, and I can't watch it because I can't do anything about it. I'm struggling because I can't do anything about it. I feel helpless, so I can't watch it. I only involve myself in what I can help with. The ability to be compassionate or to do something or take action about what I feel as an empath is compassion for me. Yeah. And if I can't do something about it, then I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. In the book, I wrote a letter to Lot's wife. Probably one of the most powerful, I say that, but then I read another entry and go. I almost want to ask if I can read it. Can I read it?
Yes, please do.
Just speaking of empathy and my discovery of it as Chandrika. I struggled with knowing this story, man, and I'm thinking as I'm going and thinking about how relative this is, even to what, the description of the interruption in one's life of peace into now war. And I remember reading this story again as I've gone on this journey, or hearing about it and going, I don't feel good about this anymore. But I don't know what I'm feeling. But it's not good to me anymore, and I'll read a part of what I had to consider even later in not feeling good about it and going, okay, and I still don't feel good about it. A letter to Lot's wife. I wrote this December 29th, 2020. Sis, I'm just so sorry. Let me segue to where I finally realized I'm just sorry. I was at work again considering this, sitting in my office by myself and considering this story, and I again trying to figure out what is this that I feel about it. And I remember reading the story again, sitting in the chair, and I sat back in the chair and just said, I'm sorry. And that's how the letter started.
Yeah.
I'm just so sorry. Really. I am so sorry. The story of your life is that of being human. A woman, a mother, and a wife transformed into a dune, making an example of your humanity, making an example of you looking back. The story is in a book labeled Bible, the authority of a religion arriving long after you were so abruptly transfigured. But it isn't okay with me that thousands of spectators gaze upon a mound of mineral, identifying it as you, presuming God allowed such a tormenting experience for as long as the earth remains. Believing you loved being a mom and probably looked forward to grandchildren made me sorry you weren't told what would happen if you looked back. I am sorry you couldn't have imagined how one could go from existing as a person to existing as a pillar. I am sorry for how all of your children may have been impacted by what seemed to be the sudden and cruel demise of their mother, for the multiple times your offspring may have had to defend your actions because that's what we do with respect to our parents. I am sorry you weren't around to guide your two girls away from incestuous behavior, all because you didn't know what would happen in response to looking back. For the sake of all your babies, some of who, quite naturally, may have been looking for in that moment, I wish the new mercies of mornings, the mercy your husband gave thanks for, had been your portion. Most of all, I am sorry Christianity, a people you'd never know, seemed to share this story, this narrative assigned to your name, without question, without compassion. Regretfully, an empathic believer. P.S. January 27, 2021. Her name was Edith because without a name, she's just a warning. Jesus is quoted to have said to his disciples, cautioning them, remember Lot's wife. But if Christianity involves having to remember Lot's wife, I don't want it. I think that was the introduction to me realizing religion uninvites empathy.
Well, I'm glad you found your empathy. I'm glad you've walked this journey and that you've wrote about it and that you've written about it and that you've shared it, because I do think it's valuable. Like I said before, nobody can argue with your lived experience. And I think that in a world of empirical evidence and, there's a time and place for that, to be sure. But when it comes to our humanity, I think we need to listen to the voices that say, but this is what I've lived through.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, where can people get your book?
Amazon and all other places.
Okay, all the places.
Yeah, all the places. Just Google. It's on Amazon, Books A Million, I think, Barnes & Noble.
Great.
Yeah.
And then we're going to link to you in the show notes, but where do you reside in terms of internet space for people to follow you?
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok.
All of them.
Too many. Too many. Now, what's the thing that Twitter created?
X?
Trend.
Oh, Threads.
Threads. I just can't. I'm barely on Twitter, but doing Bikes, Breakfast, and Black Girls, we have a photographer, 2 of them. I call them our resident photographer and her assistant. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where we would be. We're trying to grow it. They really do help me with photography for, sharing the experience.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's hard. I find it to be very difficult as well. So I completely identify with that. And, but I really want to thank you for doing this with me today.
Thank you for coming to see me.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
a cool opportunity.
It is. It's so fun to meet you in person.
Yes.
And just hear your story from your lips and, get to know you better.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been a pleasure and an honor. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to The Human Experience. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends and family, share it on social media, and rate and review it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also support the podcast financially by going to my website, thehxpod.com, linked in the show notes, and clicking on Donate. It takes a lot of time and resources to create this podcast, so every little bit helps. Everyone has a story, and I'd love to hear yours. So be sure to check out the show notes for more information about how to stay in touch. Do good and love well.